Yes, Tina. Right. Well, we all know how important the next generation is. If young people aren't engaged in the work that we do, then our organisation is going to die. If they're not encouraged to develop an understanding of history, then Sir Winston Churchill's life and his legacy and all it stood for is going to be forgotten. And that's why, personally, I was delighted to see at least one young person at this conference, and not just at this conference, but also contributing actively already to Finest Hour. So this is an author like Churchill in the making. So I think we should all recognise Grant, who you're 12, is that correct? So just 12 years old. And to recognise him and his contribution to this conference, we'd like to present him with this book. Okay. Thank you so much. And Tina, if you would close our session. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, before I say an early goodbye, I wanted to make a few brief remarks. It's been my privilege, it's been my honor to serve as your conference chairman, but more than that, it's been my privilege and my honor to listen and learn with you with all of these great presentations. In fact, this morning, I think for me personally, it's underscored what this whole conference is about, because we're dealing with the whole man, the whole life of Winston Churchill. We're dealing with Winston Churchill, the lover, the family man, the soldier, the politician, and the historian. Speaking of history, I was so pleased that we gave this well-deserved time to Clementine Churchill, because she was surely the rock on which Winston Churchill built his career. I believe she had a huge effect, as Sonia and of course Celia pointed out, in sustaining and advising Churchill. The proof of the pudding was in those two great presentations by Celia and Sonia. It was also really thrilling for me to listen to Hal Klepek. I want to audit one of his classes because he's so energetic and he presents the material in such a fine fashion. And of course, I have to say something about my good friend Andrew Roberts, Dr. Andrew Roberts. I loved his presentation. He's a brilliant historian. He's a wonderful speaker. And like Churchill, Andrew, as you've noticed, he doesn't shy away from strong political opinions on very big subjects. And speaking of very big subjects, of course, his book on Napoleon is a very big subject, and I happened to know about it before it was being published. And I spoke to him about it, and because I was in the process of writing my book on Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. And I asked Andrew if he would contribute an essay, in which he did, and he brilliantly turned it into Napoleon and Jacqueline, and as only he could do. And he added it was Napoleon's gift of self-awareness, as well as that of Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, that contributed to their great success in life, and he should know. And I have to say that Alan Packwood wrote this most beautiful essay, also for my book, on the lion and the lioness, comparing Churchill's courage and Jacqueline Kennedy's bravery during the time of the assassination. You're a beautiful writer, Alan. Just beautiful. So I am sorry that I have to leave early. I'm going back to New York this afternoon, but I wanted to take the opportunity on behalf of the VIP party to thank the wonderful Churchill family. And if you were at Ditchley Park the other night, you probably heard me say, I have never met a Churchill that I didn't like. And I wanted to thank them again. And also to thank the whole organizers, the conference organizers, who did such a good job for us and worked so hard, including the chief juggler there. Now, for me, this past week has just been a little like living in Downton Abbey, which I faithfully watch. I just wish I had Lady Mary's clothing budget and Mr. Bates to protect me. But it's just been great fun dining and learning in these great houses with lords and dukes. In fact, last night I was fortunate enough to have a lord on my left and a duke on my right. I don't know if I'll ever be able to repeat that again in my life. But I think you'll all agree that we've eaten well, we've drank well, we've learned well, and we've been in good company. I think sometimes Churchill, who, by the way, I have tried to channel, but I think sometimes Churchill has been sending us telepathic messages all week that maybe if we're going to drink, we should drink well and with the best, which begins naturally with Paul Roget. That way, alcohol won't get more out of us than we get out of it, as Churchill once said about himself. So on that merry note, I'll say goodbye and thank you all for being here. You're living proof that our man, Winston Churchill, is alive and well. Thank you again.